Welcome to episode 2 of Space Wars. Let's get into it. Last episode, we did the moon. Now the moon currently looks like this, with the dark red being Russian colonies, the red being Chinese colonies, orange being India, and blue being America. Let's get into it. So first thing that will be happening is France will be setting up their own space colony. And where will they be setting it up? Oh, wait. So France, just like the other rockets so far, will be sending their rocket to the moon. And where will they be landing? They will be landing pretty close to the American colony, right here. So France will be expanding their colony, or just starting it by surrounding the area where I put the rocket symbol, and it'll be surrounding small craters. There's a lot of small craters in this area, so this is a good space for them. As the craters, in this scenario at least, are pretty valuable. As the French will be expanding their colony and taking over some very small craters, and will be pushing through a bunch of other small craters in order to reach this big flat area here. That's what the French colony looks like so far. Time to go back to India, because India is rapidly expanding their colony throughout space, like very rapidly, as they will be taking over this massive part of the moon here, which is gigantic. Yeah, now their colony is absolutely huge now. Yeah, time to go back to China, as they will be going up throughout the moon, and will be taking a bunch of territories, eventually reaching the northern pole area things. As because of this, they will be going in directions and taking over, or at least, yeah, they will be taking over the entirety of the North Pole area, except for these rocky bits over here, which, they will be reaching, and they will also be, oh wait, I can't do the fill thing, and they will be taking over all of this territory, which will make its colony look something like this. Very, very big. But also, Brazil is going to be bringing a rocket to space. As just like every other rocket, they will be sending the rocket from Brazil over to the moon. Yeah. And what they will be doing? Where will they be landing their rocket? They'll be landing the rocket all the way out here in the corner. And, yeah. They'll be starting their expansion pretty quickly, but they soon realize this is not so good of an area to do crater studying, as they've only found, one crater that's worth studying, which is this one that I've surrounded, and they figure out that other colonies are here, and they connect up with the Indian colony, and I guess they're already connected with the rest of their areas. Oh. As if you saw in the corner, the United Kingdom is here. What color will we use to represent the United Kingdom? Let's use brown, because we can. Now it's just like every other rocket, they go to the moon, and also will be landing somewhere in this giant moon. As they will be actually landing right here, all the way down here, next to this area. And this is where they land, which is pretty good for crater discovery and, exploring, as they will be going around and encircling this crater, finding the Russian colony, and will be continuing to surround more craters, like this. Maybe not that one, but like this. And the British, realized they were kind of late, as, the world looks like this. Except we forgot to do Russian space exploring updates, as, the Russians will be continuing to explore down south and finding more craters. Yeah, they like craters. And they will be going in this direction to attempt to go to connect with the American colony. And eventually, after exploring, they reach it. And then they send out an expedition in order to, connect with their other colony. And it succeeds, as all of this area is, connected. it's time to talk about these alliances. What's this other? I don't. Time to talk about these alliances, as things are happening, and I guess we're going to be adding the war layer. Well, this is something. I guess we're having a war layer on this. Well, I guess there's going to be wars, as this is literally called Space Wars. But the Square Alliance will be declaring war on the Triangle Alliance. Quickly, the Chinese will be going throughout the American colonies and attempting to take as much of them as they can, which they're doing very successfully at. And same thing is what the Russians are doing, as they will be taking a bunch of their colonies, specifically in the flatter areas. And the Russians are also pushing back over here. Yeah, that's something. Oh, the French are here. Okay. But the Indians will be pushing back and taking the capital of this colony here. The capitals are represented by the rockets, and the Chinese just lost their capital, which is pretty devastating for them. But at the same time, the Chinese take the American capital, which is also very devastating. And when the Chinese are going to be, if I can get the actual color, recoloring the map, and they will be pushing and taking the Indian capital. And because both of the capitals of these alliances are gone, time to look at a peace treaty. And this is the peace treaty. So the Chinese will be annexing all of these areas, and the Russians will be annexing these areas, which is pretty big. And Russia is going to start an operation in order to encircle all the colonies. Yeah. As they will be starting the operation on this side, going around some craters and, well, eventually connecting them. And then a race happens in these areas, and part of the peace treaty says that America can't expand. Well, I guess Russia takes that. And now Russia is just free to go in and take all of this area, as they will be going in, surrounding these big craters, taking the smaller craters for themselves. Actually, no. Yeah, they will be taking and surrounding the bigger craters for scientist stuff, sciencey stuff. Science. Yeah. Science. Yep. Yeah. As they will be going ahead and surrounding all of these areas here, and they will be, well, taking these areas. And now Russia's colony is by far the biggest out of them all. Yeah. But now, other rockets are going to be exploring in other places. As we have a second American rocket from somewhere else, will be going out into space. And it will be exploring, attempting to find another planet. And it will be going out here. And when the rocket goes out and goes to Mars, it will be landing there. Yeah. We will be exploring Mars in the next episode, as we will be going back to the moon and getting the layers back on. Yeah. As the Indian colony is going to continue to expand greatly, as it will be greatly expanding throughout the giant flat plains of the moon, as what they call it. And they will, in this area, they will just be finding barely any to no craters at all, which, none of them they find worth studying. And now the Indians are regretting their decision of landing in this area, as their space colony is the weakest out of them all, only having 2 craters surrounded, while the other smaller ones, like even the French colony, is stronger than it. Yeah. And the moon looks like this now. Time to go back here. As Brazil will be continuing to expand throughout the Great Moon Plain. Yeah, is what India calls it, and so the rest of the world agrees that's what it's called, the Great Moon Plain. As the Brazilians will be lucky enough to find more craters. Did this crater get... Yeah. As they will be going around and surrounding all of these craters here, as they are way more lucky than the Indians, and I guess India is very unlucky when it's coming to space, as they haven't been able to find any craters. And after I color that in, that is going to do it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed today's episode of Space Wars. See you in the next episode, and bye!